I used to think love was measured in laundry piles, not kisses, not whispered secrets in the dark, not even shared dreams. No, love, to me, was folded shirts stacked neatly in his drawer. It was remembering how he liked his coffee, black, no sugar, lukewarm by the time he drank it because he was always late. It was swallowing my anger when he forgot our anniversary. Again, it was smiling at parties when his hand lingered a little too long on the small of some younger woman's back. I was Catherine Morales, but everyone called me Katie. To my students, I was Mrs. Morales, the math teacher who never raised her voice but somehow made quadratic equations feel like poetry. To my husband, I was Honey, convenient, reliable, always there. To my daughter, I was Mom the Rock, the safe place, the one who never cracked. But to myself, for a long, long time, I didn't even know who I was anymore. I was born in Austin in 1970, back when the PC still smelled like barbecue smoke and wildflowers, not tech startups and overpriced latte. My parents ran a small taqueria off South Congress. My mother's hands were always dusted with flour, her voice always humming old ranch. My father's back was permanently bent from years of lifting crates, but he stood tall when he spoke to me. Mia, be better than us. Get an education? Don't end up serving men who don't even say gracias. I listened, I studied hard, got a scholarship, became a teacher, married Mark at 23, bright-eyed, ambitious, a software engineer with a smile that could melt Texas asphalt. He told me I was the smartest woman he'd ever met. I believed him. I thought that meant he saw me. He didn't. What he saw was a partner who wouldn't make waves, a woman who'd say yes, dear, when he wanted to work late, who'd cancel her book club because he had a rough day, who'd wear the dress he liked, cook the meals he preferred, laugh at the jokes he thought were funny, even when they weren't. We had Emma in 1997. Perfect, bright, fierce. She was my joy, my redemption, the one person in the world who looked at me like I was magic. But even motherhood became another. Performance, playdates, science fair projects, college applications. I poured everything into her because if I couldn't be seen by my husband, maybe I could be remembered by my daughter. And then came Sierra. I didn't suspect at first. Why would I? Mark wasn't the type to cheat, or so I thought. He wasn't flashy, didn't drink too much, didn't flirt openly. He was steady, predictable, safe, but safety is sometimes just silence dressed up as love. The first sign was his phone. He started taking it everywhere, even to the bathroom. He'd angle the screen away from me, laugh at texts with a smile I hadn't seen in years. When I asked, he'd say, just work stuff. Katie, you wouldn't understand. The second sign was the yoga studio. He'd never done yoga in his life, but suddenly, he was going 3 times a week, trying to de-stress. He said, you should come too. I didn't. The third sign was the scent, jasmine and vanilla. Not my perfume, not anything I owned. It clung to his collar. One Tuesday night, when I asked, he shrugged. Must have brushed past someone at the gym. I nodded, smiled, swallowed the lump in my throat, because that's what I did. I swallowed. I smiled. I stayed quiet until the night of March 14th, 22 for Emma was visiting from Boston. We'd planned a girls' night, wine, old movies, her telling me about her new boyfriend. But Mark had an urgent work call. He took his laptop to the bedroom. I went to bring him coffee, a peace offering. I told myself, a reminder that I was still here, still trying. His laptop was open, his phone was charging beside it, and on the screen, a notification. Sierra, last night was fire, can't wait for Friday. Your wife's still clueless. My hand froze, the mug slipped. Coffee splashed across the rug, dark, spreading, like the truth I could no longer ignore. I didn't scream, I didn't cry. I picked up his phone, unlocked it, his thumbprint was still warm. And there it was, photos, dozens of them. Her laughing, wearing my robe, sitting at my vanity, lying in my bed, videos, short shaky clips, her whispering, you're so good at this. Him laughing, that deep, rumbling laugh I hadn't heard in years. The last one broke me. It was a screenshot of a video call. Sierra was holding the phone. Mark was lying on our bed, the one we'd bought together on our 20th anniversary. He was shirtless, smiling, waving at the camera like it was a joke. Like I was a joke. I sat on the floor, cold tile against my legs. I didn't move for an hour, maybe 2. Emma found me there, silent, staring at nothing. Mom, she whispered, what's wrong? I handed her the phone. She didn't speak, just hugged me, tight, fierce, trembling. That night, while Mark slept blissfully unaware, I packed a suitcase, not to leave him, Not yet, but to find me. The suitcase I packed that night didn't have much: 2 pairs of jeans, 3 blouses, all neutral colors, because I still hadn't learned how to choose for myself. My favorite book, The House on Mango Street, dog-eared and underlined in places that used to make me feel seen. A framed photo of Emma at 5, grinning with chocolate smeared across her cheeks. And my mother's rosary, the one she gave me on my wedding day, with a kiss and a whisper. Dios te bendiga, que nunca te rompan el corazón. God bless you, my daughter. May they never break your heart. Ironic, I didn't go far. Just to Emma's old room in the guest house behind our property, the one we'd converted into an Airbnb but never rented out. Too sentimental, Mark always said. Now, it was my sanctuary. I didn't cry that first night. I didn't scream. I didn't throw things. I just sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the walls we'd painted together. Seafoam green, the label said. It was supposed to be calming. It wasn't, it was suffocating. Emma stayed with me. She called in sick to work, something she never did. She brought tea, soup, blankets. She didn't ask questions. She just held my hand. That's my girl. She knew silence better than words sometimes. The next morning, Mark came knocking. Katie, can we talk? I opened the door. Didn't invite him in. He looked confused. Not guilty. Not ashamed. Just inconvenienced. Look, he started, hands in pockets, shifting his weight like a teenager caught sneaking in past curfew. I know what you saw. It's not what you think. I didn't laugh. I didn't yell. I just stared at him, really stared, for the first time in maybe a decade. You're right, I said, voice steady, quiet. It's worse. He blinked. Katie, it was just what? I cut him off. Just fun. Just stress relief. Just a fling. Just nothing. He didn't answer. I stepped closer. Not to touch him. Not to hurt him. Just to make him feel the weight of what he'd done. You slept with her. In our bed. You let her wear my clothes. You laughed with her while I sat downstairs wondering if I was losing my mind. You looked me in the eye and told me I was imagining things. So don't stand here and tell me it's not what I think. I think it's exactly what it is. You chose her. Over me. Over us. Over everything. He opened his mouth. Closed it. Looked at the ground. I never meant to hurt you, he finally mumbled. That's when I laughed. Not a happy laugh. Not even an angry one. It was the laugh of a woman who just realized she'd spent 32 years building a home on quicksand. You never meant to hurt me, I echoed. Mark, you didn't mean to do a lot of things. You didn't mean to forget our anniversary. You didn't mean to miss Emma's graduation. You didn't mean to fall asleep every time I tried to talk to you about my day. But you did. Over and over and over. And now you didn't mean to break me, but you did. He left without another word. Emma hugged me the second the door closed. Mom, she whispered, what do you want to do? I didn't answer right away. Because for the first time in my life, I didn't know what I wanted, and that terrified me more than the betrayal. I moved through the days like a ghost. I taught my classes mechanically, smiled when students asked if I was okay, graded papers with red ink that felt too bright against the white. I didn't confront Sierra, didn't block her on social media, didn't post cryptic quotes about betrayal. I just existed. Bark sent texts, apologies, excuses, promises. I'll go to counseling. It meant nothing. Please, Katie, we can fix this. I didn't reply. Emma suggested therapy. I nodded. Made an appointment. Canceled it 3 times. What would I even say? Hi, I'm 55. My husband of 32 years cheated on me with a yoga instructor half my age. I think I've forgotten who I am. Can you help me remember? It sounded pathetic. Even in my head, it happened on a Thursday. I went to my usual coffee shop, the one on 5th Street with the chipped mugs and the barista who knew my order by heart. Hey, Mrs. M. Jake called out as I walked in. The usual. I nodded. Black coffee, no sugar. Lukewarm. I sat by the window, watched the world go by. A young couple laughing over shared headphones. An old man feeding pigeons. A woman my age, sitting alone, reading a book with a highlighter in hand. She looked peaceful. I wondered what that felt like. That's when I saw her, Sierra, walking in with my yoga mat slung over her shoulder. The purple one I'd bought on sale at Target. The one with the little sunflower patch I'd sewn on myself. She didn't see me at first. She ordered, laughed with Jake, tipped generously, sat 2 tables away, and then she pulled out her phone, and there he was, Mark. Smiling, winking, sending her a selfie from our kitchen. I didn't move, didn't breathe. She typed back, miss you already, can't wait for tonight. That's when something inside me snapped. Not loudly, not violently, quietly, like a thread finally giving way after years of strain. I stood up, walked over, didn't raise my voice, didn't cry, didn't shake. I just placed my coffee cup on her table, looked her in the eye, and said, very calmly, "You can have him." She froze, eyes wide, mouth open. "I'm not here to fight you," I continued. "I'm not here to shame you. I'm just here to tell you, you can have him. All of him. The snoring, the cold feet, the way he leaves wet towels on the floor, the way he says I love you without meaning it. He's all yours." I leaned in slightly. "And when he breaks your heart too, don't come crying to me, because I won't be there. I'll be too busy living my life." I turned around, walked out, didn't look back. Jake was staring. So was half the cafe. I didn't care. For the first time in 32 years, I felt powerful. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat at the small desk in the guest house, laptop open, and did something I hadn't done since college. I wrote, not lesson plans, not grocery lists, not honeydew reminders. I wrote for me. Today, I looked a younger woman in the eye and told her she could have my husband, not because I didn't love him, but because I finally loved myself more. It wasn't poetry, it wasn't profound, but it was true. And that truth, it burned, in a good way. Like sunlight after a long winter, it came to me in the shower because of course it did. What if I started a podcast, not about gossip, not about revenge, not even about Mark, but about us, women like me, women over 50, women who'd been told their stories were over, women who'd been erased by duty, by marriage, by motherhood, by silence, women who were ready to be heard. I called it the second sunrise, because that's what this felt like, not an ending, a beginning. I recorded the first episode that weekend, no fancy mic, no studio, just my phone, a closet full of clothes to dampen the echo, and a heart full of things I'd never said out loud. I titled it, I Was the Perfect Wife Until I Realized Perfection Was Killing Me. I talked about the laundry piles that became my love language, the way I stopped buying red lipstick because it wasn't practical, the dreams I buried because there's no time for that now. The night I found the texts, the coffee shop, the suitcase, the silence, the slow, painful unlearning of a lifetime of shoulds. I didn't plan to publish it, but Emma did. She uploaded it, shared it in a few Facebook groups, tagged a local women's magazine. Within 48 hours, I had 300 listens. Within a week, minus 2,000. And the messages, "You just described my life." I cried through the whole thing. "Thank you for saying what I couldn't." Where's episode 2? I recorded episode 2 the next day. This time, I invited a guest, my old college roommate, Linda, who'd left her husband of 40 years to become a potter in Santa Fe. We laughed, we cried. We talked about reinvention, about fear, about the terrifying, exhilarating freedom of starting over. By episode 5, I had sponsors. By episode 10, I was getting invited to speak at women's retreats. By episode 15, a local radio station called. Katie, the producer, said, "We want you on air. Weekly, 1 hour. Your show, your voice?" I said yes. Not because I was ready, but because I was done waiting to be ready. I didn't want to step foot in a yoga studio again. The thought of it made my skin crawl, but my body, it needed to move, to breathe, to remember it was still mine. Emma found her. Duna Rosa, 78 years old, silver hair and a long braid, wrinkles that looked like maps of a life well lived. She taught gentle movement and soul stretching, not in a studio, in her backyard, under a giant oak tree strung with fairy lights. Her first words to me, "Mia, you don't need to bend your body to please anyone, you just need to listen to it." I cried during the first session. Not because it was hard, but because it was kind. She didn't count reps, didn't correct my form, didn't care if I wobbled. She just held space. Breathe into where it hurts. She'd say, "That's where the healing begins." One day, after we'd been meeting for a month, she asked, "Why did you come here, Katie?" I told her. Everything: the betrayal, the numbness, the coffee shop, the podcast. She nodded, sipped her tea, smiled. Tú no eres un vaso roto, mija. Eres un jardín que está floreciendo después de la tormenta. You are not a broken glass, my daughter. You are a garden blooming after the storm. I cried again, but this time, they were happy tears. I didn't plan to buy it. I was just driving, clearing my head, listening to my own podcast, episode 7. The one about reclaiming space. And then I saw it. A tiny blue house on Maple Avenue, for sale sign crooked in the yard, peeling paint, overgrown garden, a porch swing hanging by one chain. It was perfect. Not because it was beautiful, but because it was possible. I called my realtor the next day, sold my share of the marital home to Mark for less than it was worth. I didn't care. I wanted freedom more than money. I moved in on my 55th birthday. Emma helped me paint. We chose sunrise coral for the front door, whisper white for the walls, midnight teal for the kitchen cabinets. We hung string lights on the porch, planted lavender by the steps, bought a record player and filled it with Selena, Celia Cruz, and Lila Downs. I hung a sign above the door. Welcome to Katie's, where broken things learn to shine again. It wasn't a business. It wasn't a studio. It was a declaration. Her name was Ruth, widowed. 2 grown sons who meant well but didn't understand. She'd been listening since episode 1. She emailed me after episode 12. Katie, I haven't left my house in 3 years, not since Harold died, but today, after listening to you talk about Donna Rosa's backyard yoga, I put on my shoes, walked to the mailbox, sat on the porch, felt the sun. Thank you for reminding me I'm still alive. I called her. We talked for 2 hours. 2 weeks later, she came to Donna Rosa's class. 3 months later, she started her own podcast, The Late Bloomers Book Club. She dedicated the first episode to me. This one's for Katie, the woman who taught me it's never too late to begin again. That's when I knew this wasn't just about me anymore. It was about us, all of us, the women who'd been told to be quiet, the women who'd been told to wait, the women who'd been told their stories were over. We weren't over, we were just getting started. He came to the house 6 months after I moved in, knocked on the blue door, looked around at the lavender, the string lights, the record player playing Selena. You look different, he said. I feel different, I replied. He shifted, cleared his throat. I miss you, Katie. I didn't flinch. You don't miss me, I said gently. You miss the silence I gave you. You miss the convenience. You miss not having to think about anyone but yourself. He didn't deny it. I'm sorry, he whispered. I know, I said, but sorry doesn't rebuild what you broke. He nodded, turned to leave Mark. He stopped. Thank you, I said. He looked confused, for setting me free. He didn't say anything, just walked away, and for the first time in 32 years, I didn't watch him go. I closed the door, put on my favorite record, and danced. At he. Morning air smelled like rain and lavender, the kind of scent that clings to your skin and whispers, "You're home." I sat on the porch swing, barefoot, sipping coffee from a chipped mug Emma had painted for me in 3rd grade. The record player inside was spinning Selena's Como La Flor, soft, sweet, a little sad, but alive. Just like me, it had been a year since I'd walked out of that marriage. A year since I'd packed that suitcase with trembling hands and a broken heart. A year since I'd looked Sierra in the eye and told her she could have him, and meant it. And now I was sitting in my own house, blue door, string lights, mismatched furniture, walls covered in Emma's childhood drawings and Donna Rosa's handwritten poems, listening to my own voice on the radio. Yes, my voice. Every Thursday at 10 a.m., KAZX 98.7 aired The Second Sunrise, live, no edits, no filters, just me, a microphone, and whatever truth I needed to tell that week. Today's episode was about fear. Not the loud, screaming kind, the quiet, creeping kind, the kind that sits in your chest like a stone and whispers, "What if you're too old? What if no one cares? What if you're just too late?" I'd recorded it yesterday, raw, unrehearsed. I talked about the first time I wore red lipstick again, how my hand shook, how I almost wiped it off before leaving the house. I talked about buying this house alone, how the realtor kept asking, "Is your husband coming to sign?" I talked about the nights I still cried, not for Mark, but for the girl I used to be, the one who believed love meant shrinking, the one who thought silence was strength. I didn't plan the ending, it just came. If you're listening to this and your heart is broken, don't rush to fix it. Let it breathe. Let it beat for you, not for them. The sunrise after the storm. It's yours. And it's beautiful. The station got 87 calls in the first hour. I didn't answer any of them. I just sat here, on my porch, in my house, in my life. Emma called at noon. Double quotes mom. You're trending on Twitter. I laughed. I don't even have Twitter. You do now. I made you an account. You have 12,000 followers. And a verified blue check. Don't ask me how. I didn't ask. I just smiled. My girl, always 2 steps ahead. She came over that evening with wine. tacos, and a stack of fan letters. One was from a woman in Ohio, 62, divorced, just started painting. She'd never shown anyone her work until she heard my episode on reclaiming creativity. Now, she was hosting her first gallery show. Another was from a nurse in Seattle, 58, widowed, raising 2 grandkids. She'd started a support group for women starting over after 50. She called it the Second Sunrise Circle. I cried reading them. Not sad tears, full tears, the kind that come when you realize you're not alone. When you realize your pain, your story became someone else's lifeline. Emma squeezed my hand. You're changing lives, Mom. I shook my head. No, baby, they're changing mine. Donna Rosa came by on Saturday with a basket of tamales and a new yoga mat, deep green, with golden threads woven through like sunlight. For your next class, she said, winking. I'd started teaching. Not professionally, not for money, just for us. The women who needed to remember their bodies were still theirs, who needed to stretch not to impress, but to heal. We met in my backyard now. Under the oak tree I'd strung with more fairy lights. Sometimes 5 women came, sometimes 15. We didn't care. We breathed. We moved. We laughed. We cried. We held each other's hands when the memories got heavy. Last week, Linda, my college roommate, now a full-time potter, brought her latest creation, a ceramic bowl glazed in swirls of blue and gold. She placed it in the center of our circle. This is for you, Katie, she said, to hold all the pieces you thought were broken. Turns out, they were just waiting to become something new. I keep it on my kitchen table now, filled with lemons, or keys, or sometimes just empty. Because even emptiness can be beautiful when it's yours. Mark texted me in July. Emma says you're on the radio now. I'm proud of you. I stared at the message for a long time. Not angry, not sad, just quiet. I didn't reply. Not out of spite, out of peace. Some doors don't need to be slammed. They just need to stay closed. The man I met in August didn't bring flowers, or chocolates, or promises. He brought books. His name was Daniel, 59, retired history professor, widowed, 2 daughters in grad school. He walked into the local bookstore, the one with the creaky floorboards and the cat that slept on the poetry section, and asked the clerk, "Do you have anything by Katie Morales?" The clerk, a college kid with purple hair, pointed to me. I was sitting in the corner, scribbling notes for next week's episode. Daniel didn't swoop in, didn't flirt, didn't ask for my number. He just sat down at the table across from me, opened his book, and read. We didn't speak for an hour. Then he looked up. "You're even better in person," he said. "Your voice on the podcast, it's warm, but your silence, that's where the real power is." I blinked. "You listen to the podcast?" "Every episode," he said. "My wife used to listen with me. Before she passed, it helped her feel less alone. Now it helps me." I didn't know what to say, so I said nothing. He didn't push, just smiled, closed his book, stood up. "Maybe I'll see you here next week," he said. "Same time, same table, no pressure." He left. I didn't see him the next week. Or the week after. I didn't mind. I wasn't looking for love. I was looking for peace, and I'd found it. He came back in September. This time, he brought 2 coffees. Black, no sugar, lukewarm, he said, sliding one toward me. I raised an eyebrow. "Stalker." He laughed. "Listener." We talked, not about romance, not about the past, about books, about Austin's changing skyline, about his daughter's terrible cooking, about my podcast's new intro music. It felt easy. Like breathing. We met every Saturday after that. Same table, same coffees, same silence when we needed it. One day, he asked, "Do you ever think about dating again?" I thought about it, really thought. No, I said. Not dating, but companionship, maybe. On my terms. In my time. He nodded. "Good, because I'm not here to fix you, Katie. I'm here to sit with you. In the quiet, in the mess, in the light." That's all I needed to hear. The studio called in October. "Katie, we want to take the Second Sunrise National. Syndication. Bigger platform. More listeners. What do you think?" I thought about it. Then I said no. They were shocked. "Why? This is every podcaster's dream." I smiled. "Maybe, but it's not mine." I didn't want fame. I didn't want pressure. I didn't want to turn my healing into a product. I wanted to keep it real, raw mind, so we compromised. I'd record monthly special episodes for the national feed, but my weekly show, that stayed local, intimate, Hours. The women in my backyard circle threw me a party when they heard Donna Rosa brought tamales, Linda brought pottery, Emma brought champagne. We danced under the fairy lights. No music, just our laughter. Winter came early that year, cold mornings, frost on the windows, the kind of chill that makes you want to stay in bed with a book and a blanket. I didn't. I woke up early, made coffee, sat on the porch anyway, wrapped in a quilt Emma had stitched for me, the one with all our favorite quotes embroidered in the corners. You are not too late. Your story is still being written. The best part, it's yours to tell. I opened my laptop, started writing, not for the podcast, for me, a book title, How Hope Found Me, subtitle, A 55-year-old woman's journey back to herself. I didn't know if anyone would read it. I didn't care. It was my truth, my healing, my gift to me. On my 56th birthday, Emma gave me a key. To what? I asked. She grinned. Come see. She drove me downtown, to a small storefront on Congress Avenue, big windows, fresh paint, a sign above the door, still covered. Open it, she said. I turned the key, pushed the door open. Inside, shelves, comfy chairs, a little stage in the corner, a coffee bar, and on the wall, a mural of a woman, arms wide open, sunrise behind her. The sign outside, the second sunrise books, coffee and stories for women starting over. I burst into tears. Emma hugged me. You gave us all a voice. Mom, now it's time to give yourself a home. For all of us. Donna Rosa was there. Linda, Ruth, Daniel, even a few listeners I'd never met. They threw me a party. No speeches, no gifts, just stories. One by one, they stood up, shared how the podcast changed them, how my words gave them courage, how my silence gave them space. I didn't speak. I just listened, and for the first time in my life, I felt truly, deeply, completely seen. Mark came by that evening. Just stood outside the window. Didn't come in. I saw him waved, he waved back. Didn't smile. Didn't cry. Just nodded. Like he finally understood. This wasn't revenge. This wasn't spite. This was resurrection. I sit here now, 1 year later, in the back room of the bookstore, typing these final words. The shop is quiet. Daniel's reading in the corner. Emma's rearranging the poetry section. Donna Rosa's teaching a yoga class in the courtyard. Outside, the sun is setting, golden, soft, full of promise. They ask me, the listeners, the readers, the women who write to me with trembling hands and hopeful hearts, how did you survive? I don't tell them about the betrayal, the suitcase, the coffee shop, the podcast. I tell them this. I stopped waiting for someone to save me. I stopped apologizing for taking up space. I stopped believing my story was over at 55. I bought red lipstick. I danced alone. I said no, and meant it. I said yes to myself. And slowly, quietly, beautifully, hope found me. Not because I was looking for it, but because I finally became a place where it could live. I closed the laptop. Stand up. Walk to the window. Watch the sunset. Paint the street in golden eye. Smile. Not because everything's perfect, but because it's mine. Every scar, every laugh line, every quiet morning, every loud dream. This is my life, not the one I planned, not the one I was given, the one I chose, the one I built, the one I love. And if you're reading this, wondering if it's too late, if you're too broken, if hope will ever find you, it will. Not because the world changes, but because you do. One breath, one step, one no, one yes, you alone. Enough. Hold on. And so loved, especially by the woman in the mirror. Welcome to your second sunrise. It's beautiful here.